The story of Samson begins during one of the darkest times for the Israelites, a people chosen by God, but now living under the crushing rule of the Philistines. For 40 years, the Philistines oppressed Israel, dictating the lives of its people and robbing them of hope. In the small town of Zorah, part of the tribe of Dan, there lived a man named Manoah. He and his wife, a woman burdened with barrenness, carried a deep longing for a child. Their prayers seemed unanswered, and as time passed, they wondered if God had forgotten them. But one day, as the sun warmed the fields and hope seemed distant, an extraordinary event occurred. The angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife, his presence radiating divine authority and grace. With a voice that seemed to echo from eternity, the angel announced, "You are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son. However, this child will not be like any other. From the womb, he must be dedicated to God as a Nazarite, a life set apart for the Lord's purposes. He must never drink wine or consume anything unclean, and no razor shall ever touch his head, for he will begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines." Filled with awe and wonder, Manoah's wife hurried home to tell her husband about the divine visitation. Manoah, though amazed, wanted to ensure they raised this special child exactly as God intended. So he prayed earnestly, asking God to send the angel once more to teach them the way forward. God, in his infinite mercy, honored Manoah's request. The angel returned and repeated the instructions, emphasizing the seriousness of the vow and the unique purpose of the child to come. Before we continue with this breathtaking tale of strength, courage, and divine mission, I invite you to take a moment to support our channel. Please like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment saying, "God bless you." Let's spread a wave of divine blessings around the world. Manoah and his wife soon welcomed a son and named him Samson. As he grew, God's Spirit began to move in his life, and Samson's destiny unfolded in unpredictable and extraordinary ways. He was not just strong. He possessed a supernatural strength given by God, a strength that would mark his life's path. Yet, despite this divine gift, Samson was a man driven by his passions and impulses. One day, in his youth, Samson traveled to Timnah and became enamored with a Philistine woman. He returned to his parents and declared, "I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Get her for me as my wife." Shocked and dismayed, his parents pleaded, "Is there not an acceptable woman among our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines for a wife?" But Samson, firm in his desires, insisted, "Get her for me. She's the right one for me." What his parents did not know was that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an opportunity to confront the Philistines through Samson's choices. On one of his journeys to Timnah, a dramatic encounter awaited Samson. As he walked through a dense forest, a young lion suddenly roared and charged at him. In that moment, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, and with his bare hands, he tore the lion apart as easily as one might tear a young goat. Yet he told no one about this feat, not even his parents. Some time later, as Samson returned to Timnah to marry the woman, he passed by the carcass of the lion and noticed something unusual. A swarm of bees had made honey in the lion's remains. He scooped out the honey, savoring its sweetness, and shared it with his parents, without mentioning its unclean origin. This detail, seemingly insignificant, would soon lead to a series of events that would change everything. At his wedding feast, a celebration lasting 7 days, Samson proposed a riddle to 30 Philistine companions. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet, he challenged them. The wager: if they solved the riddle within 7 days, he would give them 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If they failed, they would owe him the same. The Philistines, frustrated and unable to solve it, resorted to threatening Samson's new bride, coercing her to extract the answer. They warned her, "Coax your husband into explaining the riddle, or we will burn you and your father's household." Torn by fear and desperation, Samson's wife wept and begged him for the answer, accusing him of not loving her. Reluctantly, on the seventh day, Samson disclosed the secret, and she immediately betrayed him, revealing the answer to her people. The Philistines, gloating, approached Samson with the solution. His eyes blazed with anger as he realized their treachery. "If you had not plowed with my heifer," he declared, "you would not have solved my riddle." The Spirit of the Lord came upon him again, and in his fury, he struck down 30 men in Ashkelon, taking their garments to settle his debt. Burning with rage, he returned home, and his wife was given to another. The tale of Samson's wrath had only just begun. In time, he returned to claim his wife, only to find her given away. Enraged, Samson sought revenge in a manner that defied expectation. He caught 300 foxes, tied their tails in pairs, fastened torches to them, and set them loose in the Philistine fields. The torches ignited the crops, vineyards, and olive groves, devastating the Philistines' livelihood. Furious, the Philistines retaliated by burning Samson's wife and her father. Samson, filled with a sense of unrelenting vengeance, declared, "Since you have acted like this, I won't stop until I get my revenge." He slaughtered many Philistines and then retreated to a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines pursued him into the territory of Judah, prompting 3,000 men of Judah to confront Samson. They pleaded, "Don't you know the Philistines rule over us? What have you done to us?" Samson responded calmly, "I only did to them what they did to me." Swearing not to kill him themselves, they bound him with new ropes and delivered him to the Philistines. But as the enemy closed in, the Spirit of the Lord once more enveloped Samson. The ropes became like charred flax and fell from his hands. Grabbing the fresh jawbone of a donkey, he struck down 1,000 men, crying out, "With a donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them." Exhausted and thirsty from the battle, Samson called upon God, and in his mercy, God split open a hollow place, and water gushed forth. Revived, Samson continued his role as Israel's judge for 20 years, though his heart was far from invulnerable. The saga takes a twist when Samson falls for Delilah, a woman from the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers, desperate to learn the secret of his strength, bribed her with silver. Time and again, she coaxed Samson, but he misled her with false answers. At last, worn down by her persistent questioning, Samson revealed the truth. "No razor has ever touched my head. If my hair were shaved, I would become as weak as any other man." Seizing the opportunity, Delilah had his hair cut while he slept. When he awoke, he found himself powerless, captured by his enemies. The Philistines gouged out his eyes and shackled him in Gaza, where he was forced to grind grain in prison. However, the story of Samson does not end in defeat. During a great celebration in the temple of Dagon, the Philistines brought Samson out to mock him. But his hair had begun to grow again, a silent symbol of God's ever-present grace. Samson prayed one final prayer, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Strengthen me just once more." He positioned himself between the temple's pillars and, with all his might, pushed. The temple collapsed, crushing the rulers and everyone within, and in his death, Samson achieved his greatest victory over the Philistines. Samson's story is a powerful reminder of how God's purposes can prevail, even through flawed individuals. Though his life was a mix of strength and weakness, his ultimate act of faith fulfilled the divine mission set before him. If you feel inspired by these incredible tales of faith and courage, consider visiting our store through the first link in the description. You'll find meaningful religious articles from t-shirts and mugs to necklaces and home decor to keep your faith tangible and ever-present. Thank you for joining us in this epic recounting of Samson's life. Remember to like, comment, God bless you, and subscribe to support our mission to share biblical stories with the world.